Good day, Class 10. Open your political science textbook to Chapter 2, Federalism. What is federalism? We have two democratic countries, Belgium and Sri Lanka. We have seen how each one dealt with the ethnic population. We also found out which country managed to solve the issue and be a united country, and which country faced a civil war for over 3 decades because they followed the policy of majoritarianism. Here we shall discuss the same two countries. First, we will discuss about Belgium. Belgium made key changes in the constitution regarding power sharing. Earlier, the powers of the central government were reduced and these powers were given to the regional governments. However, these powers given to the regional governments could be withdrawn by the central government. But in 1993, a change was made. What was the change? The regional governments were given constitutional powers and were no longer dependent on the central government. Therefore, Belgium had shifted from a unitary government to a federal form of government. Let's take Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka continues to remain a unitary government. The central government has all the powers. It has not rectified its mistakes even after 30 years of civil war. Therefore, federalism is defined as a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. A federation has two levels of government. One for the entire country, called the central or union government, which is responsible for a few subjects of common national interest. The other levels are known as state governments that look after much of the day-to-day administering of their state. Both governments enjoy their power independent of the other. Let's see the differences between a federal and unitary government. Under unitary government, there is only one level of government, or the subunits are subordinate to the central government. The central government can pass orders to state or local governments, whereas in a federal system, the central government cannot pass orders to the state government to do something. The state governments are not answerable to the central government. These two governments are separately answerable to the people. And state governments get their power from the Constitution. What are the key features of federalism? First, there are two or more levels of government. Like in India, we have the union government, the state government, and also local self-government, which we call Panchayati Raj. The different tiers govern the same citizens, but each tier has its own jurisdiction in specific matters like legislation, taxation, and administration. The jurisdictions of each tier of government are specified in the Constitution. This is the second point, second feature. Therefore, the existence and authority of each tier is constitutionally guaranteed. Third, the fundamental provisions of the Constitution, called amendments, cannot be changed by one level of government. These changes require the consent of both levels of government, that is the union and the state. Fourth, courts have the power to interpret the Constitution and powers of different levels of government. Fifth, sources of revenue for each level of government are clearly specified to ensure financial autonomy. Next, the federal system has dual objectives, meaning two objectives. First, to safeguard and promote unity of the country, at the same time accommodate regional diversity. These two aspects are crucial for the institutions and practice of federalism. An ideal federal system has both aspects: mutual trust and agreement. The balance of power between the center and the state governments depends mainly on the historical context in which the federation was formed. Now, there are two kinds of federalism. One is coming together federations, and the other is holding together federations. Now we shall see each of these terms separately. What is coming together federations? Independent states coming together on their own to form a bigger unit pooling their sovereignty and retaining identity. They can increase their security. This coming together federations exist in the USA, Switzerland, and Australia. Here, all the states have equal power and are strong. So is the federal government. We move on to the next. What is holding together federations? When a large country decides to divide its power between the constituent states and the union government, here the central government tends to be more powerful. This is found in countries like India, Spain, and Belgium. Very often, different constituent units have unequal powers. Some units are granted special powers. Like before 2019, you know about Jammu and Kashmir. Article 370 gave them a special status. But in 2019, Article 370 was taken away, cancelled. Now we move on to what makes India a federal country. India has emerged as an independent nation after a long and painful and bloody partition. Remember, it was really painstaking. Bloody in the sense many people were killed. You heard about the Jallianwala Bagh incident. You heard about the silent protests in Amritsar when the police opened fire. So many people shed their blood for the independence of the country. The Constitution declared India as a union of states. Nowhere in the Constitution you will find India declared as a federal form of government. It is based on the principles of federalism. Initially, the Constitution provided for a two-tier system of government. But later, a third tier was added: panchayats and municipalities. Now, why did this happen? India is a large country with a huge population, where more than 60% of the population live in villages. As you have heard and read, that the union government has specific matters to deal with. State government has special matters to deal with. But who is there to solve the problems of the common people, the peasants, the villagers? Therefore, India adopted the Panchayati Raj system, which we call local self-government. The Constitution provides a threefold distribution of legislative powers. How? There are three lists mentioned in the Constitution. We will do each one separately. The Union list. Subjects of national importance like defense of the country, foreign affairs, banking systems, currency, etc., are included in the Union list. You know why? Because we need a uniform policy on these matters. Therefore, the union government alone can make laws relating to the subjects in the union list. We move on to the next one, the state list. It contains subjects of state and local importance like police, trade, commerce, agriculture, irrigation, etc. Here, the state governments can alone make laws relating to these subjects mentioned in the state list. We go on to the last. It says the concurrent list. It includes subjects of common interest to both the union and state government, like education, forests, trade unions, marriage, adoption, and succession, etc. The union and the state governments can make laws on these subjects. What if there was a conflict? Or what if there is a conflict of these laws? The Constitution states that if there is a conflict on any subject in the concurrent list, the laws made by the union government will prevail. That makes the central government more powerful than the state government. We come to a term called residuary subjects. Subjects that came up after the Constitution was made. For example, computer software. Now, who is going to legislate on this matter? These are called residuary powers or residuary subjects.